Hello everybody, my name is Edgar Rodriguez and this is Kip, my service dog. And this is the first video in a series of 10 videos where you're going to be learning how to train your dog with leash pressure. Like I said, this is the first video in a series of 10 videos. But before you start, you need to meet some requirements. And the first thing, your dog needs to be at least 6 to 8 months old. Because if you start with negative reinforcement, which that's what leash pressure would be, negative reinforcement is meaning the dog will receive some pressure on his leash and he have to go with it to be able to release that pressure. So your dog needs to be at least 6 to 8 months old, all depending on the temperament of your dog and what kind of relationship you already have with your dog. Another requirement is you need to have some basic training of your dog. You need to be training your dog in things like sit, down, couché, assis, couché, assis, yes, out, couché, assis, couché, yes, out. You need to have is a good relationship with your dog, because that's going to help a lot with the training. It's not the same thing when you're training your dog with reward training, which is the dog sits, you give him a treat, the dog goes down, you give him a treat, and you can do this as many times as possible. Couché, assis, couché, assis, boy, yes. But in this case, with leash pressure, it's going to be a negative reinforcement. So he's going to have a negative pressure that he has to do what you ask him to do, so he release that pressure. It's a totally different type of training. So you need to have a really good relationship with your dog. During this series, we're going to be using multiple equipment. One of them is going to be the slip collar. This collar is actually, this is slip leash. Instead of a collar, I got this one, which is all together, and it makes it kind of choke a little bit when it's pulled. So this is going to be one of the equipment we're going to be using. Another one is going to be the pinch collar or prong collar. The next one we're going to be using is going to be the E collar. We're not going to be using flat collar. And I'm going to explain to you during this series why I choose to use each of this equipment, the E collar, the prong collar, and the sleep collar, instead of the flat collar. I don't like flat collar at all for leash pressure, and you're going to learn why during this series. So bye to that. Another thing you're going to need is a pouch where you carry your treats, because we're going to mix a little bit of reward training with negative reinforcement training. And you're going to see this in the whole process during this 10 videos, how we integrate both trainings together and why I recommend you have this handy. Another requirement is getting your dog used to the equipment. So if you're going to use prong collars, you need to have your dog wear the prong collar for a couple of days. I mean, you don't keep it for the whole couple of days. You put it on for a couple of hours every day during a couple of days, so the dog gets adjusted to the prong collar. The same thing with the E collar. Your dog needs to wear the E collar without activating the E collar. Just put it on and get the dog used to it. Another thing you need to consider is the temperament and sensitivity of your dog. Some dogs are really sensitive and we're only going to use the sleeve collar. Some others are not that sensitive and we're going to use the prong collar. For the most part, I use the prong collar for almost everything, but we're going to learn during this series when to use each of the tools that I mentioned before. Like people, every dog has their own temperament. And we need to take that in consideration too. If you have a slow moving temperament or a hyper temperament, it will make a totally different when it comes to training. You will figure all this out during this series, which tool will be best for your dog. Very important is the engagement between you and your dog. To this point, your dog needs to have a really good engagement with you, meaning he plays with you, he pays attention to you, he's willing to work and be trained with you paying attention at all times. I have all the videos in the past. You can see how I train Kip to pay attention. But during this series, you're gonna see me working with him and see how much attention he have on me. So your dog needs to be paying a lot of attention to you before you start leash pressure training.
Couché. Assis. Couché. Assis. Couché. Assis. Yes. Out. Assis. Assis. Couché. Assis. Couché. Assis. Yes.
Another thing you have to take in consideration is your relationship with your dog. If you haven't developed that good relationship with your dog yet, it's not time to start leash pressure training. If you just rescue a dog and this dog is going to be your service dog or it can be your pet and you want to start doing leash pressure training, you need first to develop a really good relationship where the dog trusts you 100%, so that way a negative reinforcement that we're going to be using during the leash pressure training won't affect in a negative way of your dog. Another thing your dog needs to have is marking training, meaning your dog knows keywords. In my case is no, which is no. Good is continue to do what you're doing. It's good what you're doing. And yes, which is you're done. You did what I want you to do. This type of training needs to be done before you start leash pressure. We're going to be using marking training at the same times that we use a leash pressure training. You're going to see it during the videos how I use it, how I mix both of them together. So your dog needs to be ready with marking training before you start leash pressure training.
Good. Good boy. Good. That a good boy. Yes. Come. Au pied. Good. Good boy. That a good boy. Good. Yes. Crow. Yes. Crow. No. Crow. Yes.
Leash pressure training will help you with healing, with walking with a loose leash, with making sure your dog doesn't make mistakes, stop the mistakes. If you coming out of your house, stopping your dog if he's trying to go in front of you. It's so many areas that I'm going to be covering during these 10 videos that you don't want to miss any of the videos. So here is a list of all the requirements that you need before you start this training. And if you don't want to miss any of these videos, make sure you subscribe and ring the bell. That way you get notified every time I publish a new video. This series is something that everybody should watch. You don't necessarily have to be a service dog. You can have a pet dog, or you can even have a dog that you want to start in specific sports. This series for you is going to be super helpful. So make sure you don't miss any of the videos. You're gonna need them, all of them, so you get everything you need to do leash pressure. Leash pressure, you need to know what you're doing before you start doing it. Like I dedicated this whole video for the requirements of that your dog needs to meet before you start, because remember, this is negative reinforcement. It's an escape and avoidance type of training, so that you need to be really careful how you do it so you don't make mistakes, because mistakes in this case would set you back in your training. I hope this video has been helpful for you, and don't forget to subscribe so you can receive notifications every time I post a new one. So I see you next time. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy.